Hello and welcome to Newsfeed, your daily dose of what people are talking about online, from news stories to what's trending. A right-wing coalition has swept into power in Italy. It's the country's first far-right government since the Second World War. Giorgia Meloni is poised to become Italy's first female leader. Her ultra-conservative Brothers of Italy party is in a coalition with Matteo Salvini's Nationalistic League party and former Premier Silvio Berlusconi's Forza Italia. Meloni has built a reputation of being more radical in her policies than the center-right, notably on issues such as civil rights, immigration, and abortion. Her views on Russia and the US are not clear, but she has been critical of the EU. She needs to strike a balance, however, because Italy is the biggest beneficiary of the European COVID-19 Recovery Fund. Money Italy needs to assist in its post-pandemic economic recovery. So let's take a closer look at Italy's new leader. Giorgia Meloni was born in Rome in 1977. As a child, she loved fantasy fiction, especially The Lord of the Rings. She entered Italy's crowded political scene in 2006. At the age of 29, she was elected to parliament. 6 years later, she broke from Silvio Berlusconi's party to form the Brothers of Italy, a party rooted in Euroscepticism and anti-immigration policies. It won just 4% of the vote 4 years ago, but now it's Italy's most dominant political force. In a speech made 3 years ago, she promised to defend God, the fatherland, and the family from the threat of illegal immigrants, Islamicization, and leftist politicians. She's seen as Italy's most far-right leader since the fascist Benito Mussolini. My colleague Ludovica Brignola tells us more.
Giorgia Meloni has claimed victory in Italy's elections, and she's on course to become Italy's first female prime minister, but also Italy's first far-right leader since the end of the Second World War. So how did this all happen? We have to say that Meloni's party really has experienced a meteoric rise, because in 2018 she obtained 4% of the vote. Percentage has risen now to 26%. Analysts say that the party has really benefited from essentially staying out of the National Unity government, the government that collapsed in July, and in a way really representing a third way with more integrity as an opposition party. And all this is despite the party having emerged from a neo-fascist party that emerged after the death of fascist leader Benito Mussolini in 1945. Something that's obviously alarming much of Europe, but that hasn't prevented far-right leaders across the bloc from really hailing Meloni's victory immediately, and also saying that this is sending a clear, historic message to Brussels. So we've seen Polish Prime Minister among the first to congratulate Meloni on Twitter. We've seen Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban also congratulating her, and Orban's political director writing on Twitter that in these difficult times we need more than ever friends who share a common view. Well, a view that includes more radical views on immigration, on abortion, on civil rights as well, but also the belief that the country should cut taxes and renegotiate its COVID-19 recovery funds with the EU, one of the most important legacies of Mario Draghi, that's Italy's former prime minister. All this is happening in Italy at a time when the country's public debt is at the highest it's ever been, when inflation is skyrocketing, but most importantly amid a very uncertain political environment. We know that the country has seen 70 governments in the last 77 years, and that is why, despite Meloni's coalition being set for a clear majority, the question on everybody's lips remains, will she really be able to hold it all together, her coalition and her government? And if yes, for how long? Or does this simply call for more trouble ahead?
At least 41 people have died in Iran during protests in the wake of the death of Mahsa Amini at the hands of Iran's morality police. The 22-year-old died in detention over a week ago after being arrested for not following the country's strict clothing restrictions. Women have played a prominent role in the demonstrations, some of them burning scarves and cutting their hair in solidarity. Furious crowds call for the downfall of Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. With protests in Iran showing no signs of stopping, authorities have restricted access to the internet. TikTokers all over the world have flocked to the platform to show support for the Iranian people.
For people to lose their life because they are choosing to wear or not to wear the hijab. It's inhumane. Iranian authorities have almost completely shut down the internet so that this could not spread anymore, so that the world does not know what is going on. We need to spread Mahsa Amini's story so that this does not happen again. It is our choice what we want to wear.
And there's been an outpouring of support on Twitter as well, where the hashtag Mahsa Amini has generated more than 46,000 tweets per hour. Now, netizens have been tweeting their support for the protesters and sharing images of vigils worldwide. A Malaysian human rights group tweeted photos of images of Iranians gathering outside their embassy in Kuala Lumpur. The rights group says it stands in solidarity with the protests against injustice, human rights violations, and suppression of women by the Islamic regime of Iran. Journalist Suzanne Pan posted about the hundreds walking on the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco, standing in solidarity and standing against what happened to Mahsa Amini in Iran. And this netizen said, "I'm not Iranian, but I'm a woman. I'm human. My friends in Iran need help to be their voice." Assessment work is underway to determine the scale of the damage after a deadly typhoon battered the Philippines, leaving 6 people dead and causing catastrophic flooding. The country's north bore the brunt of Typhoon Noru, which has since weakened and passed over the South China Sea towards Vietnam. Authorities are trying to distribute aid to hard-hit areas, but many areas still remain cut off still. Officials say that more than 1 million hectares of farmland could have been destroyed. Once again, poor and rural communities have been hit the hardest by natural disasters in the Philippines. A farmer in the country's north posted up this clip online before the storm.
Kinakabahan.
I'm here on my farm and nervous. There's a typhoon and I don't know what'll happen tomorrow and in the following days. It's such a shame. Our rice crop looks good. I'm shooting this video today because I'm not sure if all of this will still be here by tomorrow evening. I don't know how all of this will look. That's life. Whatever God's will is, that's what will happen. It's a shame. It's difficult being a farmer. God willing, maybe the typhoon will move in a different direction. I hope so. My fellow farmers are all nervous too. The storm's coming. Here we are, praying that we are spared. It's so difficult. We worked so hard on this.
Residents have been sharing before and after clips of the impact of the storm. Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has conducted an aerial survey of the damage. He's ordered the airlifting of supplies and the deployment of machinery to help clean up efforts in the worst affected communities. Emergency power supply will also be provided to cut off areas. TikTokers have been trying to raise awareness on the devastation in the Philippines. They've also been sharing information on how to donate much-needed aid.
People in the Philippines need your help right now. Super Typhoon Noru, also known in the Philippines as Super Typhoon Karding, had made landfall in the northern island of Luzon. Specifically, it made landfall on the Polillo Islands in Quezon Province. Slowly, we are getting pictures and videos of the devastation caused by this typhoon. If you have any money to spare at all, please make sure that you Google any of these organizations that I'm going to flash here, because people will be needing help. And even if you can't donate any money, please make sure to amplify any TikTok post or anything at all about this storm, about any relief action.
The British pound has hit a record low against the US dollar amid fears over the state of the UK economy after the government unveiled a huge tax-cutting budget. Global markets kicked off the week reacting to the UK's biggest tax cuts in 50 years. In early Asia trade, the sterling fell to a record low of 1.03 before regaining some ground.
Of course, we've got to factor into this that there is some dollar strength here. That's been a factor in foreign exchange markets for some months. But if we look at what's happened to sterling against the euro, we see sterling weakness there. So certainly there is a strong signal here from the markets that they do not like the budget that we had from the UK government on Friday, and certainly over the weekend. They weren't happy either with the assurances from the Chancellor that more tax cuts could be on the way. Right now, it does seem to be pretty reckless, and what the government has effectively done is given us some money back in terms of tax cuts. But of course, it's very likely that that means that the Bank of England is going to come in with more aggressive tax interest rate hikes. So what the Chancellor gives us in terms of tax cuts, we're going to have it taken out in the form of higher mortgage payments, etc., meaning that ultimately the boost to demand could be removed, and all we're left with is this legacy of much larger debt. And it's the debt pile that really is of concern to investors.
So you heard there some analysis about the currency slump from a professional within the financial sector. But what's newsfeed without the thoughts of armchair experts on TikTok?
Whilst tax cuts sound amazing, they're actually going to put further pressure on inflation and make recessions even worse. The market immediately dumped the British pound.
The British pound is getting absolutely shredded by the dollar right now. Just take a look at this chart. An absolute bloodbath. And as we zoom out in the pound-dollar chart, I mean, the pound has been in free fall for a little bit of time now. And the dollar has been absolutely ripping lately due to the Federal Reserve raising interest rates. And it's really interesting to see in times of global catastrophe that the dollar is performing so well, and that these other fiat currencies like the euro, the pound, and the yen are getting absolutely shredded by it.
All right, on to what's trending. British musician Roger Waters has been declared persona non grata in the Polish town of Krakow, and his scheduled concert there cancelled. That's after the former Pink Floyd frontman sent an open letter to Ukraine's First Lady Olena Zelenska. He wrote that extreme nationalists set Ukraine on the path to this disastrous war. He also accused those extreme nationalists of crossing a number of red lines set out by the Kremlin. Now, Waters is known for his pro-Moscow views and often appears on the Russian state TV channel RT. Here's him talking about Russia's role in the Second World War.
The Russians beat the Nazis. The Russians won the Second World War for the rest of it. It wasn't the brave Brits or the cavalry coming over to the North Atlantic. It was the Russian people who made the supreme sacrifice to hold back the Nazi hordes and to defeat them. We should never, ever forget that, particularly when we're pointing our fingers and battling our sabers at the Russian people, which is what we're doing, which is another insane endeavor.
The British musician posted a Facebook statement saying Lukas Wantuch, Krakow's town councillor, cancelled his concert and was trying to declare him as persona non grata. Waters also paraphrased his hit song, Another Brick in the Wall, saying, "Hey, Lukas Wantuch, leave them kids alone." All right, so we're often told people's attention span is getting shorter, especially if you're on TikTok. But check this out. Instead of watching a full-length movie, Chinese TikTokers have been condensing the entire thing into a couple of minutes for you to consume. Now, these are only some of the thousands of clips of movie summaries on the social media platform. And through viewership, these accounts are making hundreds of dollars per clip. Obviously, pirating content is nothing new, but using VPN access, these clips attract thousands, if not millions of views. They evade copyright rules by using completely different names for the movie titles, and some of them even make up different names for the characters in the movies as well. And what's more is that there is a robotic narrator that describes the plot in a not-so-accurate way. Like this next clip. I wonder if you can guess the movie's real title with a strange narrator voice at the back.
She really enjoys life in another time and space. She abandoned her parents without hesitation. This time, the new mother gave her a present and left a note to go to the show. She put on new clothes and went out the door. She found the black cat. Not only no twisted eyes, still talk. It turns out that black cats can freely enter and leave two worlds. In communication, Black Cat tells Jenny to stay away. The new mom kicked it out because she didn't like cats. Jenny doesn't believe it. With a sound, the black cat disappeared into the night. Jenny came to the show. The entire auditorium is full of black dogs. This makes Jenny feel new. She had a great show with Tom. Jenny was also invited to join. She is very happy. After the show, the parents who had been waiting outside the door for a long time greeted them. They told Jenny, if she likes it, can stay here forever, provided she needs to replace her eyes with buttons. Even she can choose any color she likes. This freaks Jenny out.
That would freak me out too. But to ease your confusion, that's not Jenny, it's Coraline. And with that mystery solved, we've come to the end of today's newsfeed. Find this show on YouTube and do subscribe to our channel. See you same time tomorrow.